So good evening, friends. We'll start with the session. Yesterday, we have finished with the sixth cardinal principle, fifth and sixth, in fact, in last lecture, that is the doctrine of drug proving and doctrine of drug dynamization. Both things we have learned in last lecture. So still we are on first aphorism, and first aphorism, the last three words which we are learning day by day and understanding the cardinal principles of homeopathy in depth with its practical touch. We have started with law of similars, followed by the law of simplex, followed by the law of minimum dose. Thereafter, the doctrines, out of which the first doctrine of vital force, then the doctrine of drug proving and doctrine of drug dynamization. Everything we have learned in detail so that we can, if our concepts gets cleared while learning the first aphorism, it becomes quite easy to learn rest of the aphorisms. So that's why I always give maximum time to learn the first aphorism or to teach and share regarding the first aphorism in detail. We have to go ahead today with the last part of these cardinal principles, that doctrine of chronic diseases. This doctrine is very important because here the things which are absolutely changed from Hahnemannian point of view also. Hahnemann himself was very much in struggle when he was treating the chronic diseases. He was treating them with a proper remedy. He was giving them simillimum, but he was not getting the cure which was there in his mind. It was those patients who used to come to him again and again for the same complaints, and he was not happy. And that was the thought which was troubling him a lot. Why my patients are not getting cured? He struggled very hard since 1790 to 1827. He was in the search of what may be the cause behind all those things. He was going through all his cases again and again, in order to find it out, the reason behind why his pathy is not giving him a perfect result. And that's why this fellow worked very hard, which ultimately led him to the discovery of causes of chronic diseases. And this whole process, which is called as the doctrine of chronic diseases, out of which first part is called as the theory of chronic diseases. That is the process which was running in Hahnemannian mind during those years where he was not getting the result. That those thoughts, the 5 thoughts were there in his mind, which are labeled as theory of chronic diseases. And because of that theory of chronic diseases, ultimately he ended with the concept of or causes of chronic diseases. There is a big PPT, it is a big seminar which I have presented very early. I think it is in the year of 2004-5, something like that, at Chandrapur. So I will share that PPT and you can learn a lot with this PPT. So we'll start with the PPT session. Okay. So this is a seminar which was presented over there at Chandrapur a way back, and there were lot of things which you are going to learn in this part. We'll learn the little bit history behind that. We'll learn what is the practical utility of the miasms, very important aspect which one must learn. So we'll start with this part, with practical utility of miasms. We'll take little bit historical review. In 1790, there was a discovery of homeopathy to the Hahnemann while translating the Cullen's Materia Medica. And there were 2 sentences that the cinchona bark is the remedy for malaria, and on another page it has written cinchona bark has capacity to produce the malaria-like symptoms, and that itself creates a problem in Hahnemannian mind. He said that how it can be possible, either one of the sentence might be a proper. So He worked over that. He proved that. He experimented both things and found to be approved. Yes, both sentences were correct. And then he was astonished. The thought inducted in his mind, there might be some law behind that. And he worked for 6 hours and 6 years. And in 1796, he introduced the homeopathy to the world by experimenting with many medicines on these principles, and ultimately used him in such types of diseases. In 1805, he has written the medicine of experience. All those years, he was using the medicines on the principle of law of similars. He was using them in the material form, in the mother tincture form. Then the 6 editions came into existence, out of which the first edition was published in 1810, which contains 259 aphorisms. In 1811, there was a Materia Medica Pura, was published by him. Then 1819, the second edition of Organon of Healing Art, containing 318 aphorisms, came into existence. And in 1824, the third edition of Organon of Medicine was published, which contains the 320 aphorisms. Why this historical view? It was needed because 1790 to 1824, it is 34 years he was working with his principle. But he was not satisfied over there. He was not satisfied because many patients were getting again and again the same type of problem. He was not happy with that. And that's why it was needed to understand this historical review. 1827, during that period, he worked with his principle. He found it out the truth. And in 1827, when he got the truth behind this chronic diseases, he called his eldest and most brilliant students, Dr. Stapp and Gross, for discussion on his theory of origin of chronic diseases. It was ready for publication in 1827, but he has not directly published it. In fact, he was the person who shared his thoughts, who shared his discovery with his student. He said that you worked over this theory for a year, give me a feedback. And in 1828, he published the first and second volumes of chronic diseases. So this is very important. In 1829, when the fourth edition was published of the Organon of Medicine, where he introduced this theory of chronic diseases to the public. So this is the historical review. It took nearly about 39 years to at least 38 years for the Hahnemann to reach to the causes of chronic diseases. So behind that, there were many points which were running in his mind. The first point which was there in his mind, what the law of similars might not be a law of universal application. Hahnemann was the person who never looked that causes might be outside. There might be a problem with behind his failure is outside. He looked inside where there is a fault with him or with his law. And that's why the first thought which he considered, that the law of similars might not be a law of universal application, that thought was there in his mind. Hahnemann says that it might be one of the reasons because of which my patients are not getting the result. He worked out with thousands of failure cases and found that is law of similars applied properly. Second important thing, he has applied it universally. If it has been applied to the light, it is true. If it has been applied to the sound, it is true. If anywhere in the universe, if you go and you find it out, the dynamic aspects of it, you are going to find it out the same thing again and again. So this first thought was wrong, and that's why the law of similars was a law of universal application. Second thought which came into Hahnemann's mind was the drugs in homeopathy were not sufficient to cover all the disease conditions. So he said that how many drugs he has proved in his lifetime? He has proved 99 drugs. And he said there might be those might be a less in number, because of which I might be not getting the result. Again, there was a study opening all those cases, finding it out all those cases, and again going through them. When he reached to through the all through cases, he finds that drugs which were applied on the principle of law of similars are sufficient to cure that, but still they were not getting cured, they were getting palliated. The third thought which was there, developed in his mind, was there might be an error in the application of law of similars. See, he was looking inside where he is at fault. So he is considering while applying the law of similars, he might be in error. And that's why he was not getting the result. Again, opening those thousands of cases, going through them, finding it out whether I am wrong. And he found every time he is not wrong, he is always right. And why then question arises, why I am not getting the result? Then fourth thought which was there in his mind, the mode of case taking might be faulty. That was another thought which aroused in his mind. And he said that the way he took the case, all those cases, thousands of cases, the cases were taken in a proper manner. They were not there was no fault, and still he was not getting the result. So this is the fourth point in his theory of chronic diseases. And last point which was there, came into in his mind, was that there might be an obstacle in our maintaining causes which were persistent, and the failure or removal of which prevented the cure. So that was the last thought which was aroused in the Hahnemann's mind. So these 5 points where he looked inside where he is faulty, but because of which he was going through those thousands of cases again and again, again and again, again and again. At that time, he reached to certain thing. So this thought was continuous in his mind. Why, and why I'm not getting my result? And when going through all cases, he reached to one important thing. It was based upon the logic. There was an inductive and deductive logic which he was using again and again. He was going through induction, again coming to the conclusion deduction, and that every time his induction was based upon 4 important points. His induction was based upon exact observation, his induction was based upon correct interpretation, his induction was based upon scientific experimentation, and he was ready for rational explanation on the basis of this inductive, and because of which he came to the conclusion. So this was going again and again, and when repeated experimentation or repeated study of thousands of failed cases happened, he reached to one point. In 7/8 of cases, he got one history of suppressed skin eruptions by some local measures, either in the past or family history of the patient. A big thing which he got, a big issue, big discovery he got, that in nearly about 7/8 cases out of thousands of cases, he got history of suppressed skin eruptions by local measures. And that was in form at that time. And today also it is in form. People are using for any skin manifestation a local measure. They used to use many local ointments. Today there are many potent ointments are used. And that's why the skin manifestations vanishes within a day. And that was there at his time. And he got that history in the patient, either in their family history or either in their past history. There was a history of suppressed skin eruption, because of which new diseases have been aroused, to which Hahnemann labeled by the name of SORA. So he used this specific word, SORA. Why he has used the SORA? The SORA word was used first from the Hebrew language. It was T-S-O-R-A-T, Sorat. And Sorat means a burrow, a groove going inside from outside, like a sarcoptes scabies. The scabies, which is caused because of this mite, sarcoptes scabies, it enters, it produces a groove inside your finger web, and it enters over there. So this word Sora was formed from the original Hebrew language. It was the Sorat, T-S-O-R-A-T, T is silent, and that was converted into the English by the name of Sora. So it is burrowing, groove, going inside from outside. And when you apply any skin eruption, for any skin eruption, any local ointment, the skin disease vanishes. It enters inside, comes out with some internal manifestation, to which Hahnemann labeled, yes, this new disease is the result of this suppressed skin eruption, to which Hahnemann labeled by the name of psoric miasm. So Sora, from modern medical dictionary meaning scabies, psoriasis. It is Hahnemann's term for itch dyscrasia, defined as the parent of all chronic diseases, skin diseases, neoplasms, insanity, etc. It was similar to, though of more extended application than the herpetidiathesis of the French writer. So this is the modern medical dictionary explains about the Sora. Funk and Wagner's dictionary gives Sora, it is a pathol, the itch or some such similar skin disease. Or second, the itch mite. The derivation is Latin or Greek, but it is rather Hebraic in origin, coming through the Greek and Latin, the sorat. Sorat meaning a groove, a fault, a pollution, a stigma, often applied to the leprous manifestations and to the great plague. So this was the origin of this word, and Hahnemann liked this because all those diseases which develop because of suppression of skin disorders going inside from outside, he utilized this terminology. So he has used one more word, miasms. So what do you mean by miasms? Miasms are the noxious disease producing agents which are dynamic in nature and therefore are capable of affecting the dynamic vital force. Another meaning of miasm given in dictionary, a polluting exhalation or malarial poison. But the first definition, which is homeopathic definition, is very correct. These are dynamic, inimical, noxious agents. What is inimical? Inimical to whom? Inimical to that individual. Inimical to his mind, inimical to his physique, inimical to his desires, inimical to his aversions, inimical to his emotions. The things which are inimical to him are the dynamic agents. So that is also one important. But here, one important word is missing, that is, they runs from generations together. So they are the dynamic, noxious, inimical agents which runs from generations together are the miasms. So they are not there which bonds inside you. They are already, you carry it right from your parents, and your parents carry it from their parents. It is a long process. Right from the first human being, it has been transmitted to recent human being. Only thing was that it has changed its character. During Hahnemannian time, there were 7-8 cases of Sora were present. Today, there were 7-8 cases of mixed miasms. Today, we get more and more tubercular miasm. We get more and more cancer miasm. We are getting more and more psychosyphilitic miasm. This is increased. Only the character is changed. It was pure when it was Hahnemannian time. It is impure when it is the modern age. And this is very important to understand. So these miasms are very much necessary to get understand. So we'll go ahead, and when he got this discovery of anti-psoric medicine, psoric miasm, he worked again hard to find it out the solution for it. So he got the few remedies which have very similar totality to this miasm. He got the sulfur over there. He got the soranum over there. He got the graphitis over there. And he found it out anti-psoric remedy. It is not anti-psoric. It is anti-psoric. It is a one word. Anti-psoric means similar to Sora. And when you put a dash, it means opposite to Sora. He worked out with the anti-psoric remedies, means remedies which are very similar to the psoric manifestation. So he came to the conclusion of psoric remedies or anti-psoric remedies. So for example, he got the sulfur, he got the soranum, he got the graphitis, he got the calcarea cup, all those which he labeled, these are the big or king of antisoric wound. Question arises in his mind that yes, 7/8 cases we got the solution, but what about the remaining 1/8 of cases? He was not just inflated with his ego or with his enthusiasm. He was not happy with that. He said that why 1/8 of the cases are still remaining and they are not getting the result. So again, he started doing the same thing. So same study, same logic, same experimentation, going through the cases again and again. And he worked out out of them, 60% of cases, he got one common thing. There was a history of suppressed syphilis, either in the past or family history of those patients, and to which he labeled by the name of same miasm, that is syphilis miasm. This is nothing but the stigmata of syphilis. So he has utilized the same word for the miasm. Why he has used the same name? Why he has put the syphilis name to his disease? Because this syphilis disease runs in a chronic nature. Syphilis itself is a chronic disease, ultimately ending with the life of the human being. What is syphilis? Syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease which runs through the 4 phases: the primary syphilis, the secondary syphilis, the tertiary syphilis, or which is also called as a latent syphilis, and last part, when it ends with the human life, is quaternary syphilis, which generally expresses in the form of neuro or cardiosyphilis. So these are the 4 stages through which the syphilis runs. And syphilis disease itself is so chronic, it destructs the human life. And that's why Hahnemann considered, why not to give the same name to his miasm? And he has given the same name. But before going into the further study of this, we must know what is syphilis. So syphilis is the sexually transmitted disease caused because of Treponema pallidum. It is expressed when it expresses at start, it expresses either in male or female genitalia as a single painless hard ulcer with bilateral inguinal horizontal group of inguinal lymphadenopathy, is called as primary syphilis or primary chancre. That ulcer is called as a primary chancre. And that ulcer is a single, it is painless, it is hard associated with bilateral inguinal horizontal group of inguinal lymphadenopathy. This is very typical with the primary syphilis. When you apply, at that time, there was only treatment which was available was applying the mercurial preparations. They used to prepare the mercurial preparation. They used to apply the mercury over there. And because of mercury being strong in its action, it used to suppress that from that area. Person feels happy because ulcer has gone. And when it recurs again, after some time, it comes along with the few more manifestations where the disease is transmitted from that place. The original disease used to happen over there, but it used to produce few more manifestations. It used to produce a maculopapular rash all over the body, basically in the buccal mucosa, associated with the condylomata lata. These are nothing but the flat warts which appears at the mucocutaneous junctions. And see, the original syphilis was now getting converted into the soric manifestations of maculopapular rash, as well as psychotic manifestations of the condylomata lata, the flat warts. And this soric, purely syphilitic person now enters into the mixed miasmatic state when the secondary syphilis develops. So disease was transmitting from one organ from the superficial part into the internal part where the pathology starts increasing. When again you treat those condylomata with surgeries or cauterization, with maculopapular rash with some ointments, and again ulcers were applied. When you apply the ulcers with the help of some mercurial preparations, this disease looks like it has cleared, but it never gets cleared. it goes inside, remains latent for certain years. And during that period, it was affecting the internal health of the human being. Ultimately, one of the day, when it comes out, and during this period, it remains latent, is called as tertiary syphilis or latent syphilis. And when it reappears, it either involves the heart of the patient, producing cardiomyopathy and leading towards the death, or it enters into the nervous system, producing tabes dorsalis, producing again a paralysis neuropathy, leading towards destruction, leading towards the death of the human being. And this whole process ending with the human organism. This last part, quaternary syphilis, ending with the human life, is the whole syphilis. So syphilis disease itself is a very chronic disease. And that's why Hahnemann said it is always better to choose the same name. So we'll understand little bit things about this. So syphilis, already I have discussed all those things with you. It is chronic venereal disease expressed externally on male or female genitalia as a single painless hard ulcer with involvement of longitudinal group of bilateral inguinal lymphadenopathy caused by treponema. How this syphilis name was given? History is very interesting. There was one shepherd in Verona in the American or European country whose name was Syphilius. He was the first person who succumbed to this disease. So he was having the similar manifestations. So his name was converted from Syphilius to syphilis, and this nomenclature was done to this syphilis disease. So this was the history of syphilis, name of nomenclature of syphilis disease. Syphilis was treated for centuries with various heavy metal preparations until 1910. Injunctions of mercury were the mainstay of therapy, which was apparently moderately effective, although extremely toxic. And that's why you get in your materia medica, in many remedies, there are bad effects of mercury. You get it in Mercosol itself, you get it in Heparsol also. These are nothing but the suppression of the primary syphilis with the help of mercury. So this is the history of certain things which one must know why it comes in our materia medica as a bad effects of mercury, and that was the only treatment available. So when he found it out, the syphilitic miasm, that suppression of the manifestation or suppression of the skin manifestation, which appears on male genitalia or female genitalia as a single painless hard ulcer. When you suppress it, it enters somewhere inside and presenting with the new manifestations, internal disorders, to which he labeled by name of syphilitic miasm, and he worked out very hard to find it out, the anti-syphilitic remedy, or which are called as syphilitic remedy. He was knowing that. He got a Mercosol proving, and Mercurius is one of the king of anti-syphilitic remedy. He has prepared Nozod syphilinum, again a king of anti-syphilitic remedy. There was one more remedy, Hydrastis was again a syphilitic remedy. In your materia medica, you have a very syphilitic remedy is acid fluoricum. That is also syphilitic remedy, which have very close manifestations of the syphilitic miasm. So, in this way, the two miasms were discovered by Hahnemann. The first one, the Sora, which was present in 7/8 of cases and remaining in 1/8 cases, out of which in 60%, he has reached to the one more cause, that is the syphilis, suppressed syphilitic miasm. One more was remaining. The 40% cases out of those 1/8 cases were still used to find it out the cause. And those we'll discuss in Monday's session. So I think we'll stop over here because this is very important aspect which we have learned, and we have to go ahead. This is very superficial understanding of concept of miasm. What we are learning is a very superficial concept. Hahnemannian concept of understanding miasm is a very superficial concept because it leads only with the suppression theory. So suppressed skin eruption leading to form new diseases to which Hahnemann labeled by the name of SORA. Suppressed syphilis leading to form new diseases to which Hahnemann labeled by the name of syphilis. And third miasm which he has discovered was the suppressed gonorrhea or pigworts leading to form new diseases to which Hahnemann labeled by the psychotic miasm. So this understanding of miasm is very superficial. This we have to learn because this is original. This is experimented by Hahnemann, and even in today's session also we get this commonly. We treat certain disorders and something comes out, and when it comes out we are always happy because that should be an important thing because it is reflecting back again. So when you treat today morning, we have a case, what we have treated, that one patient who was treated for, I think, for the epilepsy, and after giving the medicines for epilepsy, he started again reappearing of the eruptions on the body. In cancer cases, if it comes out, it is a very good sign, let it come out. So these things happens when you treat the internal disorders, and then you find, yes, Hahnemann was very correct. Hahnemann was very perfect regarding his observation. And those things which we have to learn in this manner. So today we have discussed few things regarding the superficial understanding of the miasm, the two miasms, the SORA and syphilis. Only in a superficial sense we have learned. From Hahnemannian point of view, we have learned. We have to go ahead with one more miasm from Hahnemannian point of view, and thereafter we will enter into the Kantian aspect of understanding the miasm. A big difference between the two thoughts. Big difference between Hahnemannian concept and the Kantian concept of understanding the miasm. Kant has learned very hard to understand miasm, and that's why he explains the miasm in a different manner, which shows the reality behind the miasm. So we have to learn all those things. When we will learn in next week, totally, I think whole week will require to understand all those miasms. So it will be a quite hectic, but it will be quite useful, because then after going through those 7 lectures or 8 lectures, I'm quite sure you're going to find it out exactly, the miasms. You will very immediately you are going to find it out. Yes, this person is psychotic, this is syphilitic, this is psychosyphilitic. This thought automatically develops in your mind once you learn the miasms in this way. There was one question by Payal, sir, what are the causes of heart disease in that case when patient didn't have any history of syphilis? If it is congenital heart disease, any congenital anomaly, the miasm is always syphilitic. Any congenital anomaly. So history should be there or history should not be there. You don't know the history of the parents. The miasm is transmitted from past generations. So if a patient born with congenital heart disease, if a patient born with the cleft palate, if the patient born with some imperforated anus, if patient born with anencephaly, all those are microcephaly, all those, these are all the expressions of the syphilitic miasm. So one must understand this. So while your answer is, I think you have understood that the syphilis is the result of, it is not in the past history of the patient, but it is right from the parents he brought the syphilitic miasm, and that's why the child is having a heart disease. That is the answer behind that. Any other questions? So thank you being there. Many students are there. Yes, Pallavi, Karuna, Ali, Anuja, Chitrali, Dr. Parsuna, Dr. Anita, Anuradha. Thank you being there. Today we'll have a very good session regarding the cancer, the causes of cancer, from modern point of view, how we can learn all those things. That also you will going to learn in today's evening session. Those who are there with the Divine School of Homeopathy, be there sharp at 9 o'clock with Dr. Sachin. So he will going to share one case along with the concepts of cancer from both point of view, modern point of view as well as the homeopathic point of view. So thank you being there, and do join our Divine School of Homeopathy. Those who have not yet joined, my suggestion is that do join with our own activity, and it's really helpful for all of you. So no, it will not change. It will remain 6 o'clock. It is not possible to change. It will be fixed forever for 6 o'clock. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll meet on Monday, 6 o'clock. Thanks a lot.